15 names. We are then going to select on a random basis a total of 28 people from each side. At the same time, I'm giving representatives of the collegiate or student media who wish to support or oppose the editorial time to speak also. Everyone will get 3 minutes. Now, before we start this process, the police department has requested that people who have signs with sticks on them, at this point, take your sticks up to the door, turn the sticks in, the signs are fine. We have no problem with signs, we don't want sticks. You may please pass out the sign sheets. Opposing the editorial. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak, and we'll time it. Hope that everybody follow the limits. I don't need to tell you why I'm here. I need to mention that the word will probably be heard tonight. What we're going to do is, after I give some brief introductory remarks, by the way, my name is Jim Landers. I teach journalism here. And before we start, I'll let each member of the board do their own introduction. We will conduct a fact-finding session very briefly. We'll ask questions of Mr. McSwain, and also questions of Mr. Brown, Director of Student Media, or his appointed representative. We will then have the public comments. And after that time, we will adjourn the meeting. No matter what you've read in the news media or heard in the news media, we will not make a decision tonight. And that is under the bylaws of the Board of Student Communications. What we're doing here tonight is listening to people, and we will then deliberate what form of action to take, which includes the option of not doing anything. If we don't do anything, at that point, this is over. If we decide to do something, there's 2 different steps that we can follow, depending on what we decide to do. Whatever we decide to do will be announced publicly. A statement will be made as soon as we reach the decision. At all times, Mr. McSwain will have the right to be represented during any kind of hearing which may result, and he will be allowed legal counsel if he wishes, and also he will have a right of appeal if it comes to that. The board has not discussed it. I was operating under the presumption that we were governed by the state open meetings law, and that was a mistake on my part, because I learned this afternoon we're actually exempt from it. But we prefer to operate in an open manner because this is a public media institution, and we would like to adhere to that. Now, one more thing before we get started. We know this is an emotional topic for some people. We would appreciate that people be courteous to each other. There not be any name calling. There not be any threats. And there not be any harassment. Mr. McSwain will be answering questions, and expect him to be treated with courtesy, civility, and respect also. At all times, Mr. McSwain can refuse to answer any questions that are put to him by the board, and we're not going to hold it against him. That's his option. I talked with Mr. McSwain prior to the meeting, and he does not wish to answer questions from the audience tonight. People are speaking, he will answer questions from us. One final thing. We do all agree on the principles of free speech and of the First Amendment, and that requires that all opinions be heard tonight. This meeting can and will be ended immediately by me, following any disruption or behavior which is considered threatening. How would members of the board like to introduce themselves?
My name is Professor Brian Ott. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Speech Communication.
Hi, I'm Melanie Penrose. I'm a senior technical journalism major. student in the Student Affairs Higher Education program.
My name is Kristen Halford, and I'm a graduate student in counseling and career development.
My name is Jessica Gordon. I'm a technical journalism major. My name is Emily Scott, and I am currently a graduate student in the speech communication department.
My name is Dave McSwain. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Rocky Mountain Collegian.
All right, let's begin the fact-finding questioning by members of the Board of Student Communication. Just to let you know that the journalism department does not administer student media at Colorado State University. It is an independent entity. Would any member of the board like to ask a question? If any member of the board would like the microphone.
Mr. McSwain, could you describe for us your decision-making process?
Can you hear me? We decided to run the F. Bush editorial after we as students came together as an editorial board and felt very strongly that the incident at the University of Florida was something that students should be talking about. We felt that CSU and the CSU campus as a whole is largely apathetic, and we wanted to facilitate a debate about free speech. So we felt the best way to do that, instead of writing a 250-word editorial as we usually do, was to go ahead and exercise our rights.
I'm more interested in the actual process. How long was the conversation? What were the issues raised? What was the vote? Was there a vote?
There was a vote. It was a split vote.
Are you willing to share with us what that split vote was?
It was split, but it wasn't tight. I don't want to alienate any of my staff. The entire editorial board is standing behind that decision at this point. So there was a vote. Over several hours, we discussed it, weighed out the pros and cons. Did realize that there would be some outcry and some advertising issues. Certainly not national or international attention as it's received. We went ahead and ran the editorial.
Given that you discussed it for several hours, it seemed you realized that there were some issues at play. Could you identify for the board what some of the concerns raised were?
Some of the concerns raised were upsetting people on campus a little bit. That's something we ultimately decided we do on a daily basis on our editorial page. We discussed advertising. We certainly didn't think that it would be as bad as it is.
Could you tell me at what time your discussion started?
It started at 5 p.m. when we budget.
And what is your deadline for having the editorial done?
Midnight is when we sent it.
Do you know about what time you agreed on the editorial itself?
Probably around 7 or 8. It took a while. We initially, we decided in the actual budget meeting that we wanted to make a statement about freedom of speech and freedom of press by exercising it rather than talking about it. We just couldn't agree on what we were going to say, and then we ultimately agreed on what we ran.
So you did finish in plenty of time that had you wanted to, you could have contacted your faculty or professional advisor.
I could have. I chose not to contact the faculty advisors. I did not have any communication with any professional staff in doing this.
Why?
A couple reasons. We understand and appreciate the fact that advisors do not control editorial content. And with that, we understood that this was a controversial statement, and we didn't want to bring them into defending it.
You obviously were well aware that as student media, we do have First Amendment rights, and that there is no prior restraint or censorship in any form that's able to be effective. I do wonder, though, were you familiar with the Code of Ethics for Student Media?
Yes.
Okay. In the Code of Ethics of Student Media, which covers a lot of things, by the way, for instance, accepting free gifts is not allowed, free food, things of that nature. Item 29 says profane, vulgar words, explicit sexual language. Profane and vulgar words are not acceptable for opinion writing. Are you familiar with that?
I was familiar with that. We took a look at that and we felt that the policy earlier in toward the beginning of that document, which states, profanity can't be banned or anything, made more of a statement than the not acceptable.
The other comment regarding profanity or vulgarity refers to news coverage, does it not?
Is that explicit in there? I didn't see that.
Yes. That's explicit under the professional conduct part. But this specifically said profane and vulgar words are not acceptable. So you read it.
Yeah, we felt, and I felt that it was acceptable in this instance.
But why did you choose to ignore it when it was in the bylaw?
Again, we felt that we had protection under the PSC bylaws and under our U.S. Constitution to use profanity.
Prior to this editorial, would you have accepted any letter to the editor or guest opinion column that used the F word?
No. One thing that went into the decision-making process, and I've left letters for members of the board, is a brief look at collegiate history. We have nudity on our front page, things like that, etc. We felt that this was far less offensive and did serve a purpose.
What direction were you hoping that this would take the collegiate? Where was the vision? Were you hoping it would change the vision as it had been seen in the past, or was there anticipation of like a change in the outlook and mission of it?
Well, it wasn't so much about the collegiate, but about campus. I think the thing people are forgetting is we're a college newspaper. We hear the F word on campus all the time. Our audience is college students. We were writing to college students. We want students to understand that they have the right and that you shouldn't be afraid to stand up for things and start asking questions. It wasn't so much about the mission of the collegiate. This was as students in response to things we've been seeing.
I guess another question I have is when, you hear the terms like journalistic integrity and those kind of words being thrown out, what does that mean to you, and what does it mean to your, I guess you don't speak for staff, what does that mean to the collegiate in general when you talk about journalistic integrity?
Journalistic integrity means a lot to me and my staff. This is an opinion. We did use the F word. I don't think that compromises journalistic integrity. If you read our stories, we have painstaking efforts to make sure that we get everything right and we're as fair and balanced as possible. And I think that's apparent in my clips and in my staff's clips.
In the decision-making process, was there any discussion about the distinction between reporting the news and being the news?
Yeah. Certainly a distinction there. We did not do this setting out to make headlines. These past couple of days have been hell for all of us. That was not our intention. It was to get, as I said, CSU students, college students, thinking about issues that affect them. Well, I think point's been made. Judging by the attendance here, people are talking about it, not just on the CSU campus. I think that some students appreciate that. I think most of the complaints we're hearing are from non-students, and there's a very vocal minority.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jeff Brown, Director of Student Media. That has an E on the end. Director of Student Media. We asked him to also be here tonight to answer whatever questions the board might have regarding the fallout, the repercussions of the editorial. Anybody have questions?
When did you learn about this and how?
Interesting. Actually, being a former sports reporter and a sports fan, I turned to the back page and noticed that the sports staff misspelled Alan Aldridge's last name. And in disgust threw the paper down and said I wouldn't read the rest. At which point, one of my student staff members in the classified desk came to me and showed me page 4. About 8:45 on Friday morning.
What has been the impact to the rest of the student media?
You know, we're an organization in flux right now, and there's no other way to put it. But it's my job to deal with that and to make adjustments on the fly if necessary. And over the next days, weeks, months, even years, I will do that. I don't know if Lene Snyder would like to speak to that. She is the student advertising manager for the Rocky Mountain Collegiate, if that is okay with the board.
It is, but when could you specify flux? What's caused the flux?
We have had, well, I'll let Lene speak to that.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Can you be a little closer?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Lene Snyder. I'm the student advertising manager at the Collegian. I've poured my sweat and tears into this organization just like the 120 other students involved in this paper. I started as a freshman with an incredible opportunity and have since devoted 4 years to this newspaper. I would not be who I am today without the experience I've gained through it. I've recently been elected as National Student Representative for CNBM, the National College Newspaper Organization. Myself, as well as other students, have told me that they've come to CSU and stayed at CSU purposely because of this opportunity to work for the Collegian. Since the editorial content of Friday's paper, the financial and educational facets of the Collegian are decaying at its very roots. These roots are in the advertising staff. My staff of 10 incredible students work day in and day out to fully 100% fund this paper. Now my staff is literally frightened to call on their clients. Hour by hour, businesses are ceasing or threatening to cease supporting their business in our paper through advertising. At this rate, the Collegian will fall into a vicious cycle of destruction. Tomorrow's paper is the first time in years that we've had a black and white paper. And I fear this is only the beginning. If we continue as this, we will have a smaller paper. A smaller paper means jobs will be cut. Students are terrified of losing their jobs. I could lose my job. 4 years after working here, I could lose it. There's so much fear in our organization for the potential loss of livelihood and future opportunities. It does not stop with my staff either. It will trickle down to our creative services staff who are sitting with nothing to do, nothing to learn, and nothing to add to their portfolios. Even our distribution drivers' jobs are at stake. College Avenue, the student-run opposition to our paper will be the first to drop if this continues. All students, all working together to have held this paper up for 116 years, now are faced with pure extinction of opportunity, education, and finances. I could potentially see this trend leading us to destruction well into 6 figures. I personally don't want to walk away from my manager position, leaving the Collegian a mere shell of what it used to be. We have forever produced excellent journalists and business people from this organization, and I don't want to rob myself and the other students of this right. Dave's job was not only to decide editorial content, but to preserve the financial well-being of our paper. He failed. Please, what you decide has an effect on much more than Dave and the editorial staff. There are over 100 students involved. Please protect the Collegian's financial well-being. Please protect the students' right to become excellent, outstanding journalists and business people. Protect our futures, protect our paper's future reputation, protect our jobs, and protect our futures. Thank you.
All right. That was a response to the question, but of course it was also a statement, which we haven't really gotten to yet. So in fairness, a member of the Collegian staff is here and wishes to speak in favor of the editorial supporting it. Take their 3 minutes at this point.
All right, can you guys hear me? Yes. My name is Jessie Stafford. I'm the Associate News Managing Editor at Collegian. I am standing up here to represent our editorial board and to support Dave. All of us support him, even those of us who voted against our decision. As far as a response to Lene and the advertising dollars, that was not something that we intended to do. However, like Jeff Brown said, our paper is in a flux right now, and same with our financial situation. We have had advertisers pull, but we've also had people contacting us asking how to advertise with us, how to donate money. This is, day 5 since we printed the editorial. I think that we won't know the financial repercussions or situation for some time. I think it's a little bit soon to tell. I don't know the exact figures. I was hoping that she would state that. Anyways, that's in response to that. We as an editorial board did look at the rules and regulations. We read the bylaws, and we did think about who we were speaking to, and that is all of you. We were speaking to our student body. We were trying to say something powerful, something different, something that the Collegian hasn't done in a really long time. We wanted to get you guys talking about free speech, about the Collegian, about campus, about what happened at the University of Florida. A lot of people are saying that we didn't achieve our goal, but this meeting right here is proof that we did. We are debating about something that is important, and we stand behind that. We do, however, realize that some things came of this that we didn't want, that we didn't intend for. If you were to ask us if we would do this again, if we would do it differently, I think that we would all probably agree that we would. But this is a learning institution, same with the Collegian, and I think that we have all learned from this. We basically stepped over the line to figure out where it was. And now that we know where it is, we want to continue to push against that line, but never step over it again. We want to make the Collegian a better paper, and we want to bring back advertising dollars. I think that it's our belief that firing Dave is not the only reason why advertising dollars will come back. We have to work as a team to bring it back.
Okay, thank you. Now, to get back to the question. Does anyone have a specific amount of money that thus far has been withdrawn from the Collegian? All right.
Repeat the question.
Specific amount of money withdrawn by advertisers from the Collegian since the September 21st editorial was published?
Well, actually, right now it's an ongoing figure, and it's not stated yet. So I don't have a specific figure for you, but I can tell you that it is dismal.
I'll say the figure.
If the 18 advertisers, how's that for a number? If the 18 advertisers who called us, not in response to our staff calling them, if the 18 advertisers who called us Friday, Monday, and Tuesday were to follow through, and so far we haven't seen any advertising, if they were to follow through on their threats not to advertise with us for the rest of the year, based on what they advertised with us last year, the loss would be $50,000, approximately. And that's just the people who call us. In turn, one man from Denver who sells T-shirts with F. Bush, spelled out, has purchased $300 worth of advertising.
What was the total amount of advertising that the collegiate expected to sell this year?
We budgeted for about $950,000 in advertising revenues.
Any questions?
A lot of the emails that I receive from people in favor of keeping data talk about paper, student paper, and learning is sort of loud. How would you respond to that? That it's okay, these are students, they make mistakes.
Can you ask me that again, Jamie?
A lot of the emails I've received said, yeah, okay, they made a mistake, but they're students, they're learning, that's why they're in school. How would you address that? I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm not going to answer that specifically. I'm going to just say that it's my job as the director of student media to teach students to do their best and to uphold the standards, the generally agreed upon standards of the profession and the bylaws of the case.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Brown?
I have one more. When you say if these 18 advertisers follow through, do you have a gut feeling on this if statement?
I can't. We have, we have 10 ad reps, 2 professional ad managers. They might have a better sense of how that works. I do know that our professional advertising manager, who's been in the collegian for the last 18 years, has obviously never seen this level of ad and from advertisers. I can't say.
Do you have staff?
I know some editorial staff have quit. I know some have, some bloggers were let go. I think, you guys can fill me in or fill these guys in another day. They were let go. Yeah, I know one photographer quit, came to me. If I'm wrong. Right now, the advertising staff is suffering tremendously. I think the figure, they can speak to that, because if no one's selling ads, which is pretty much the case right now, no one gets paid because they make a commission. There's also been a 10% across the board pay cut in the newsroom, and if this trend continues, it will. That's just a start. And all across the board in every area of student media.
You were asked this already, but I didn't get a sense of what the answer was. Has there been a discernible impact on other student media?
Is it okay if other student media members answer that question?
Yes, and if other student media members are here, please answer the question specifically and I'll make a statement at this point.
and I am the editor-in-chief of College Avenue magazine here at CSU. And so I won't make my statement, but just to say if advertising dollars keep dropping off and we lose much more, College Avenue could be cut completely. And so all of my volunteers and all of my staff could lose their positions at student media. And that's just kind of something we have to sit here and wait to be told whether or not we have a job tomorrow. So.
Could you explain to people that College Avenue, which is a second-year publication,
yeah, so
is not self-sustained? You sell ads, but you don't sell enough to cover it.
Correct. College Avenue is only in its second year, and so we are not stable enough to fund ourselves, and so most of our financial support comes from the collegians still. And with that, you know, their advertising gets cut, so does ours. If they lose that money, so do we. And because we don't pay our staff, but we still have to buy the magazines that we are able to give all of you for free. If we're not able to do that, then there's no magazine.
Thank you. Other student media representatives, ACSU, CTD. Any more questions from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, student media. We will now start the public comments. I guess the good news is I didn't fill up all the lines. Maybe that's bad news, I don't know. So everybody who signed will speak. Okay? We'll have time to do that. We'll make time to do that. We ask, or actually we require, that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Now, if you go to 3 minutes and 10 seconds, that's not a problem. If you start to go longer than that, then you will have to relinquish the microphone to the next speaker. And we want everyone to have a chance to make their statement. We're going to alternate. We're going to now do 2 names at a time. Why don't you go ahead and take over?
So we're gonna alternate between supporting and opposing views. I'll give the names for the supporting views, and I'll give the 2 names. The first one obviously speaks first, and the other one will be on the deck. But they'll have to wait until the opposing view goes. And so we'll just kind of do the 2 names at a time, and we can guess it'll all go on. So the first 2 people up were Lexi Hall will be speaking first, and then on deck for the supporting views will be Carmen Gonzalez.
And the first for opposing is Nick Hemingway, and on deck is Chelsea Pennoyer.
We have 2 microphones. Doesn't matter, opposing, supporting, microphone, whatever. Accessible.
I'm Lexi Hall. I'm a freshman here at Colorado State. I'm a declared English major. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Freedom of speech or freedom of the press is right in the middle of that. We have the right to say and publish any opinion regardless of any potential disagreeing viewpoints. I disagree with the use of profanity as a method for expressing opinion, but in this case, it was completely successful. People have been talking about this since Friday. All of my friends are having conversations between classes, even in classes, about the statements that were made in the publication. As a response to the tasing incident, the editorial staff chose to respond with a statement that tried freedom of speech. The statement was intended to get people talking about the incident, to get people talking about free speech. They were completely successful.
Nick Hemingway.
Excuse me, Nick, before you start. Could the people on deck come up also?
Chelsea.
And Carmen Gonzalez.
Go ahead.
My name is Nick Hemingway. I'm a CSU student as well as collegiate deputy columnist. And I'm here today to ask the board to do what Dave McSwain has not. Be responsible for the reputation and good name of Colorado State University and the Rocky Mountain Collegiate. By letting Friday's editorial go to parade, Mr. McSwain put his personal ambitions ahead of his duty to produce a responsible and respectful daily newspaper. Although Mr. McSwain has defended his actions by claiming the editorial was meant to champion free speech, this hearing has nothing to do with free speech. At no point has Mr. McSwain's right to print such an editorial been challenged. Although the First Amendment guarantees us freedom of speech and press, nowhere does it claim to provide freedom from consequences. And it is because of these consequences that we are here tonight. Due to Mr. McSwain's actions, the Collegian has suffered irreversible damage to its reputation, and as a member of the Collegian staff, I find this inexcusable. In addition to the intangible effects of the newspaper, as you've heard, our pay has been cut and people may be out of jobs soon. As student journalists, we all have the duty to be provocative and to incite discussion, but we must do it in a responsible and professional manner. Through his actions, Mr. McSwain violated the Student Media Code of Ethics that we, the Collegian, must adhere to. Section 1 saying that we must conduct ourselves in a professional, ethical, and responsible manner at all times. It is clear that Mr. McSwain demonstrated none of these by his actions. Section 29 of the same code explicitly says, profane and vulgar words are not acceptable for opinion writing. And as the Our View section of the newspaper is an opinion-based column, it is in clear violation of this code. As a member of the Collegian and as a CSU student, I would ask the board to salvage the reputation of the Collegian by not allowing these actions to go unpunished. This is not an issue of free speech. It's an issue of responsibility and duty. Thank you.
Professional staff here on campus. I just want to let you know my opinion here tonight does not represent my office, but represents myself. I am going to read some information out of a legal document for higher education and law, and so it states some things about free press and student publications that I find very important. The right to free press protects student publications from virtually all encroachment on their editorial prerogatives by public institutions. So I think that's most important. There has also been legal precedent set at other universities that say that you cannot infringe upon free press with student publications, and I think this is very important. The problem will be exacerbated if the institution imposes a prior restraint on publications. So the bylaws really impose restraint on publications. And the chief concern of the First Amendment's free press is censorship. Thus, whenever a public institution seeks to control or coercively influence the content of a student publication, it will have a legal problem on its hands. So the precedent that was set at another university in Missouri, the Papish versus Board of Curators of the University of Missouri, said that the dissemination of ideas cannot be shut down by a university no matter how offensive to good taste. So, and it's very important because in this precedent it was found that obscenity then is not definable in terms of an institution's or an administrator's own personal conceptions of taste, decency, or propriety. Obscenity can be defined only in terms of the guidelines that courts have constructed to prevent the concept from being used to choke off controversial, social, or political dialogue.
We, the CSU College Republicans, upon seeing this distasteful editorial, decided we could not just sit there. On behalf of all those offended, we took action and stood up for what we thought was right. Here I have a petition with the names of over 500 people from CSU that include faculty, students, people from the community, parents, asking for Mr. McSwain to resign. We are not attacking his First Amendment rights. This has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with the fact that that is just an excuse to hide behind. This is entirely about McSwain's lack of journalistic integrity. The fact that he knowingly printed a huge, bold, profane word in a paper that is distributed all over our community, not just to CSU, not only a bad judgment, but an immature decision. Our community is noted as being the #1 place to live, a city of character. We all take pride in this. We are proud of our university. We share Ram pride here. But over the course of the last 5 days, views have been changed. Character has been lost. Pride is being questioned. As alumni and other contributors of this university discovered the news, what was running through their minds? Were they proud of their alma mater? Did they think their money was going to good use? Our university will take a hit for the poor choices of one student. The sad thing is that the little guy, the inessential personnel, who had nothing to do with this editorial, have lost their jobs. This way, the editor-in-chief, the one responsible for this decision, can hang on to his. How is that fair? Where is the justice for all the people getting laid off? In the real world, if a journalist would have written this, they would have been fired immediately. The newspaper would lose subscriptions and advertisers, and the entire newspaper would suffer considerably. Why then does this not apply to Colorado State University? We had hoped that Mr. McSwain would have taken responsibility for his lewd statement and resign on his own accord. Since he has chosen not to do so, it lies in the hands of you, the Board of Student Communications. We hope that you can represent our Ram pride to the rest of the nation. Thank you.
Howard is up next, and then on for sporting with Joe Howard, and then Dave Rossi will be on deck for the sporting.
Opposing, we have Crystal Corey, and on deck, Ed Haynes.
There's no particular side you have to be on. There's a group over here, so.
Hello everybody, my name is Joe Howard and I'm a freshman. I'd like to echo one of our country's greatest patriots, Thomas Jefferson, who put pen to page for this amendment that we are fighting for tonight. He said, freedom of the press cannot be limited without being lost. If we remove Dave McSwain or punish the staff that he works with, then we will be acknowledging that there are limits in this press of ours and acknowledge that there are that the unalienable rights contained within the First Amendment are not so. We live in a country ruled by the fear of offending someone. So we work to make sure that we offend no one. In this country where so many live, difference is not tolerated. Difference is bad, difference is feared. This is a case where a group of progressive-minded students chose to fight to bring the campus, the apathetic campus around them, to their feet, to open their eyes, to speak out, speak through their First Amendment, and to fight for what they believe in. This section was about free speech, and it is a terrible act that the speech it was working to foster has been drowned out through the dissent for all those that have risen up against what they're fighting for. This is a time where if we refuse to stand up for our rights, they could quite possibly cease to exist. They will vanish before us, and that is a great tragedy for our society, because these founding fathers that put this pen to paper fought for these rights that were unalienable and under no circumstances could ever be taken away from us. And if we remove Dave McSwain or punish the staff that he works with, we'll be acknowledging that these rights can be brought down bit by bit and piece by piece until the point which that Constitution of ours will just be a piece of paper sitting in a frame in Washington, D.C. Because if it doesn't have the power, it doesn't have anything. And I guess I'll have to leave you with this. If you're too scared to tolerate, if you are too scared to fight, to open up your mind, then unfortunately my generation will be lost. We'll be lost to the fear of offense, to offend anybody, because we'll be afraid to speak our minds. Because this lesson will teach us that if we speak our minds, we will be punished. And if you're too scared to tolerate, And unfortunately, we're all just too scared to live.
I want to continue to be a proud alumni. I am the executive director of the CSU College Republicans, and yes, I've been helping to run this club since fall 2008. It's very seldom, we've hardly ever been respected by the Collegian. That's fine, it's nothing to hide. It's their right, you've come to accept that, and I understand. I also understand the criticism that some have had, that the CR has gotten involved with this issue. The truth of the matter is, if we didn't, who would have? This editorial went too far, and we had to react. So we did. Make it known that no higher authorities in the Republican Party asked us to make this an issue. It is our right, and we felt our job to contest a distasteful, irresponsible, and desperate editorial written for the purpose of drawing attention. I believe in the maturity of college students. My peers do understand their free speech rights already. Trust me. If they didn't, then why have I spent the last 4 years debating in classrooms and around this campus for what I believe in? Having the opportunity to do that is a good thing. We didn't need this reminder of free speech. It hurt the university and it hurt hard. We've already heard that. When advertisers pulled their money, Collegian staff that had no say in the editorial were let go. Numerous alumni members have written and called saying that they will no longer send support, financial or otherwise, to this university as long as it continues to act in this way. Recruiters for the university are questioning themselves as they work to promote this higher ed institution. I want to attend a university that is nationally renowned, but this is not the way I wanted us to have this status. In Section I, the bylaws also state the BSC is answerable to the university community and the general public for the content of the student media. We were asking for Mr. McSwain to make this decision on his own. The honorable thing would be to step aside. We were asking him to take the high roll and resign for the disgrace he caused this university and the community, since the Collegian claims to be the student voice of Colorado State University. The rest of us don't deserve to have those bold words take claim as our voice. Right now, I am proud to be a Ram, but this makes it a little bit harder.
Dave Rossi is up next, and then for the supporting side, Alex and Knight will be on that. Dave next.
Hello, my name is David Rossi. I'm a biomedical science major, sophomore year. I'm not going to give a speech or anything. Other people have shown they're far better linguists in here than I. I just basically wanted to make sure Mr. McSwain knows people that do appreciate what he's done, and I'd like to thank him, congratulate him to have the guts to print what he did and the courage to face the trial. Or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's my belief that the political age that we've kind of evolved into right now it's gone too far. It's taken a step for the worse. And when you can walk down the halls and have the F-bomb thrown at you like confetti on New Year's Day and see it in printing and have an outcry, it's hypocrisy and it doesn't fly with me. So the way he responds to this, it may be ugly, you may not like it, but it's a step in the right direction. That's really all I just wanted to say.
My name is Ed Haynes. I'm here as a member of the community at large.
with the complaint from many of my friends who are in the community at large and who see the newspaper distributed within the community of their disappointment with the newspaper and its editorial staff and this editorial. I can only imagine how many of those newspapers got carried home into the home and were opened in front of family with young children, and the impact that may have had within individual homes in this community. That's a serious oversight on the editorial board, not considering the distribution in the community as well as on campus. I would remind people here that there are laws against outrageous speech, libel, slander. You can't scream fire in a theater. So there are limits on speech. Common decency should be applied to the things that we publish. I can read Ellen Goodman and Cal Thomas next to each other, and I can get every meaning they mean, and they don't use this kind of language. I apologize for the language I'm about to use, but I would like you to consider this. I find this editorial extremely offensive, as I do the comment I'm about to make. But I want Mr. McSwain and the members of this board to consider what the reaction would have been had this editorial been, "Taser this, Obama is a nigger." Now my guess is that he would never have printed that. There are some things that are offensive on this.
3 minutes 15, let's go.
In the community at large, this word that was used is as offensive as is the word I just used. And I ask you to consider the impact had it been a different word as well as the word that was used. Thank you.
Next for opposing is Cody Bartlett, and on deck is Luke Ragland.
My name is Allison Knight. I'm a freshman psychology and political science major here. And I have to say that when I saw Friday's editorial, I didn't think twice about it. Perhaps it's only a reflection of my status as a desensitized American teenager, but despite the fact that it was an expletive posted in a professional setting, it didn't register with me that it would cause such outrage. Yes, David McSwain has right under the First Amendment to express his opinion, and you, as the Student Board of Communications, have right as employers to assess consequences if necessary. I would assume that in any case like this, any employer would look at the situation as a whole and determine if the ways justify the means of the collegiate's intentions. Anyone following this story is well aware that Friday's editorial carried unforeseen repercussions in the community and even across the nation. Businesses have pulled their funding from the collegiate, causing pay cuts for the staff members and possible financial difficulty for the paper. Furthermore, the national publicity garnered by this article has some worried about the public image of the university. I am not suggesting that these claims carry no merit, but before we start asking for McSwain's head on a platter, let's take a second and examine something else. Most of us who attend CSU for the academic collegiate experience hand over tuition not for the facts in the textbooks, but in the hopes that we will graduate with an intellect that has been tested, challenged, and pushed to the limit. We attend class seeking another viewpoint and a chance to express our own ideas and individual thoughts. Although we may hope that this spreads itself out over the course of 4 years, it seems the collegiate has given us a chance to do this in the course of 4 words. Suddenly, students who have never paid attention to a current event in their lives are touting phrases like journalistic integrity and malicious intentions. Suddenly, a once apathetic and silent campus has turned into an epicenter for activism, sparring impassioned debate and mobilization. Not only has this campus discovered that it has the right to free speech, but the ability to use it as well. Perhaps the only true repercussion is the realization that the apathy has run so deep that it took something so crude to carry any weight. Rather than look poorly upon the collegiate for its alarming language, we should look favorably upon the passion with which the community has responded. If the editorial on Friday gave this generation its voice back, I think we can all agree that there is no cost to outweigh such a benefit. No matter what the words, we all need to hear a voice now and then. Thank you.
My school newspaper, it is ours, right? Have a headline like that in the paper. I worry about others linking that headline with our community of students. The opinion does not state the voice voice of all students. I'm writing for those students that are not okay with vulgarity in the paper. I'm writing for those students that have respect. I'm writing for students that are sick of the liberal media. And I personally ask the Collegian to refrain from voicing opinions of that nature for the entire city to see. It is inappropriate. Respect is something that is all too often set aside these days. Respect for ourselves, respect for one another, respect for our livelihoods, and more importantly, the respect for a man who stands for us as Americans and as people. You do not have to agree with George Bush. By no means are you required to like him, agree with him, or support him, because that is the freedom we have. I don't necessarily agree with everything he has done. You should, however, respect him. This is the President of the United States. He stands for freedom. He is our representative on behalf of the world. George Bush is a person who lives every day just as we do. Give him some respect. We may not agree with everything that is done all the time, but we can and are capable of giving others respect. Obviously, I do not agree or like the headline, but I respect the paper and editors for the time they took to talk with me in a civil manner. I am asking that students, faculty, and collegian and all will join me in respecting someone who is a fellow American and just so happens to be the president of this great land we call home. It wasn't the fact that freedom of speech was aimed at Bush that got me. It was the word in front of it. Since when has this word been acceptable? There are other ways of getting the point across without being so negative and rude. Since when has it been okay to use this word, especially in mass media? This is not okay. Have you ever heard news reporters talking and saying, well, the weather's going to F us over this weekend, don't go outside? No, you haven't. They would be fired. It's always inappropriate. The word is vulgar, it is derogatory, and it should definitely not be used.
Time's up.
I'm a third-year graduate student in the biochemistry department here, and I have in my hand a petition that both Ben Weiner and me, the rights that all U.S. citizens have under the First Amendment, and I printed out the First Amendment right there, and I'd like to submit that to the board. There's over 700 signatures on it. I want to use the rest of my time to point out the bylaws there that Jamie, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Even though profane and vulgar words are part of everyday conversation, they are not to be used in news accounts or letters to the editor unless they are considered by the editor-in-chief to be essential to readers' understanding of the situation. And I feel in this instance it was very essential for our understanding of the issue of the right to free speech covered in the First Amendment. Now, also, I wanted to address the other code in this legal document saying that she was being interviewed about corporal punishment. In that magazine, George W. Bush, the then governor of Texas, was quoted as saying the F word 3 times in the first paragraph of that interview. So anybody who says that this word is profane and vulgar, I agree with you, and I agree that an editor of a college newspaper should not be held to any higher standards than the President of the United States.